Okay, so it's really nice to have such really good examples of what you think is business analysis would do, and most of you pretty much covered the essence of what business analysis is. It's uh, like we already discussed, is a set of tasks, or techniques required to understand the business needs, all right, and determine the solutions to business problems. Now, let me make a case for why do we need business analysis, right? Do you know there are various research reports that have already, you know, uh, published that the main reason that the projects fail, almost 90% of the 90% of the projects fail because, and the main reason why they fail is because of, you know, the business needs were not understood properly. There wasn't sufficient attention given to understand the needs of the business, okay? Or either they were not understood properly or they were not communicated properly. So the main reason why projects fail is because the business needs were not understood properly. All right, so that's how important business analysis is for from the project perspective, from the organization success perspective, everything. All right. So the main purpose of business analysis is to find a solution, understand the business need or the opportunity in the market, and find solutions to that business problem. Okay, as a business analyst, you were never going to solve a business problem. You were going to uh, develop a software to that's going to solve the problem. All right. Okay, so the solutions could include system development component, a process improvement, or an organizational change. Yeah, it could be across the organization. There could be, a change. Like, there are certain companies who follow Six Sigma or things like that. So this is a change across the organization. Or it could be, a company who's who's migrating from maybe waterfall methodology, that's we're going to learn what that is, to maybe agile methodology. So that's like a change in the organization, the way the organization is going to work. Or it could be process improvement, so maybe automating certain processes so that kind of cuts down, it brings in more efficiency, and you have to hire lesser resources. So these kind of uh, benefits uh, could be looked at. Okay, all right. So what is it that you would do as a business analyst, or what is the role of a business analyst? Most of you have already told me that you would be gathering requirements, and that's the idea that you have about business analyst. So you would be working as a liaison among the stakeholders, all right? So in order to elicit, that is, get the requirements, analyze them. So just gathering requirements is not enough. You have to analyze it, and we're going to discuss this in detail. Communicate it. Now the most important part is communication, all right? So if a business analyst is excellent and he's understood the requirement very well, but he somehow could not communicate that to the developer who's going to develop the product, okay? So all the effort invested in gathering the requirement would not give the required outcome because you did not communicate it properly, all right? So every part of requirement management is equally important. Gathering the requirement from the customer, the stakeholder, analyzing it well, and then communicating it to the user, to the customers, to the developers who are going to develop the software, and then validate them, right? As in take a confirmation if the requirements that you have gathered, okay, and the product that is developed is in line with the customer's expectations, those are the kind of things that you would be doing, all right? So you would be understanding the business problems, the opportunities in the context of requirements. What do we mean by that? You would understand that, okay, there is a business problem, okay, there is a certain process where there is too many steps involved which is causing the delay. So you've analyzed, a certain process, and you have you understand that the business problem is that there is too much of delay. So one transaction, for example, takes 5 days, to complete the entire process. So as a business analyst, then you would sit and think that, okay, what are the steps involved? Why is there a delay, right? So you would, try to see what are the points where is there a scope of reducing, the time so that you can bring down the turnaround time of that transaction from say 5 days to maybe 2 days, okay? So what are the processes involved, and what can you do to reduce the time taken to complete a transaction, all right? And the opportunities in the context of requirements, can you offer it to all types of customers? Will that, those kind of things, or can you offer it to only a certain set of customers? That those kind of things. Can you think out of the box? Can you know offer it to maybe more number of people, or increase the scope, or things like that? Okay, and you, as a business analyst, you would be responsible to ensure that the project output would meet the requirements of the business, all right? The solution designed by you, or actually meets the business needs. Okay, so there is a business analysis body of knowledge. Okay, it's called BABOK. This is, within the profession of business analysis, it kind of defines what is the currently accepted practice. So basically this BABOK, or a business analysis body of knowledge, they describe, what is the different areas of knowledge, what are the activities that a business analyst is supposed to do. They kind of define that, right? And the skills that you need to be effective in the execution of that, right? Okay, so we've already discussed, what a business analyst would do. He would plan and monitor, you know he would first elicit, which is gather the requirements. He would also conduct an enterprise analysis, see what is the actual process that's going on right now, and you know do an analysis of the requirements and find out a solution, validate it, and uh, and then communicate this. Okay, so now we get into more details about what a business analyst does, or what are the skill sets of a business analyst. Well, generally, you don't have to be a very technical person. Uh, you could be a person who's not technical and still be an excellent business analyst. Why do you think, you know, companies hire business analysts? Okay, what used to happen before was that the technical people, like the developers, or would directly interact with the customers, okay, who want the software solution. Now, these technical developers, they would talk language that has too many technical jargons, and the end customers or the lay user, the business side of they would not understand these technical terms, and it would be very difficult to understand or exchange communication. The customers would get confused with this technical jargons, and they would not be able to understand the requirements completely, the developers, because they don't know the business side, all right, and the customers, the clients, they would not be able to communicate the requirements properly to the developers because they don't know the technical language. So that's why, business analyst has such an important role, because he would understand the business side, and it's easy for him to communicate in the customer's language, all right, and gather the requirements, and then analyze them well enough, and then communicate to the development team, so that they can and break it down and communicate with them so that they can develop the product based on the customer's needs. So as a business analyst, you're the voice of the customer. So what do you think are the skill sets of a business analyst? Anyone who'd like to what do you think is the most important skill set a business analyst would have?
I would say that he should be good with communicating and gathering their information from the customer in order for him to analyze it and translate it to the developer.
Okay, perfect. So communication skills, excellent. Anyone else?
Thinking outside the box.
Thinking outside the box, perfect. All right. Why do you think he needs to think outside the box?
Because his job to improve the process, so he needs to look and think from a different perspective to see how he can improve it.
Okay, excellent. All right. Anyone else? Any other skill set you think?
Knowledge about the industry, domain expertise.
Domain expertise, excellent. What else?
Problem solving skills.
Excellent. Problem solving skills. Any other skills?
Yes, problem solving skills and critical thinking.
Okay. Anyone else? Anything that's not being discussed? Go on.
I think another skill is technical skill for proposing a good solution with the new tools.
Okay. Okay, great. Yes, all of you, right? So yes, communication skills is of course the most important skill set that a business analyst needs to have. So he should be able to communicate properly with the customers, understand their needs, listen to them, don't assume, and listen to them, ask them, question them, what exactly do they want. Sometimes the customers don't know what they want. They just have a rough idea of what they want. So you have to question them in a manner where they start thinking, and then elicit the requirements, understand it thoroughly, okay, and ask questions, all right, and get the requirements well, and then document them. So you also need to have very good documentation skills, presentation skills. You have to communicate with a lot of stakeholders, all right. You may have to communicate to the top management. You may have about the status of the project, or maybe about the overall overall solution. You would be having to interact with a lot of internal employees like the developers or the QA team. You have to be telling them exactly how they're going to break down how the requirements, how to test the requirements. So you should be able to communicate to internal stakeholders, to customers, to the developers, and even sometimes to the end user. So after the software is developed, the operations team, all right, who would be using the product to solve customer queries, for example, you have to tell them or train them on the software, how to use the software, all right? So there is communication at all levels, all the time. And yes, your documents, documenting your requirements, presenting them, these things are very important. You need to have good presentation skills. You need to be able to observe keenly, right? And kind of multi-sense the requirements, okay? And you also need to have a knowledge of formal tools that are required for analyzing and documenting requirements. You should be able to visualize a solution for the problem at hand, right? And sometimes you also have to be able to investigate like an auditor or a market researcher to discover, specific software behaviors expected in a particular solution. So these are the kind of skill sets that are needed in a business analyst. You don't really have to be a technical person. It's good to, if you have technical knowledge, it's always an added advantage, but you don't really have to be a technical person to be a good business analyst, all right? And some of you, sometimes some of the organizations, they hire you because of your domain knowledge. So if you have an expertise in, say, insurance or banking or, uh, any, or accounting, like one of us has. So even if, so if you have an expertise in a certain area, that would be an added advantage for you. You don't necessarily even have to be a knowledge or a domain expert, all right, to be a good business analyst. I've seen many people with banking domain knowledge moving into travel and doing business, working as business analyst in the travel domain, all right? So it's not that, domain knowledge is the only thing that you need to have. It's not that. Um, okay. So anybody has any questions so far? Is it okay? Can I go to the next topic? Or anybody would like to ask any questions? Uh, anyone?
So far, so good.
Okay,
Yep.
great. Okay, so business analysis certifications, well, there would be 2 certifications, but you can go for many certifications, the main certifications for business analysis are CBAP, that is CBAP, Certified Business Analysis Professional, and CCBA, that is a Certified Certificate of Competency in Business Analyst. These 2 certifications are based on, Business Analysis Body of Knowledge, or BABOK. So you could do these certifications, so that would be an added advantage for you. They are internationally recognized, and so that would just be an added advantage. And you could also go for certifications like a certified Scrum Master or certified Scrum Product Owner. Um, but of course, that could be in an advanced stage when you have enough experience in as a business analyst. That would be really an added advantage for you. And career paths, you could join as a junior business analyst or a business analyst. And sometimes if you're an MBA, some of the organizations could even hire you as junior product managers. And you could move as you grow and as you keep working. You could move up as project managers or scrum masters, or you just stick to the product side, so you could become, lead business analysts or product managers. All right. So these are the different career paths for a business analyst. All right. So what does a business analyst do in a software project? We're going to discuss this in detail, so no worries about that. So far, any questions? Anyone?
No.
Okay, great. Okay, so we've been discussing, a lot about who a project manager is. We've understood a lot of facets of what the project manager does. He's like the face of the project. And what a business analyst does, analyzing, gathering requirements, and talking to people and understanding what does the customer need, what does he want. So, so this is the same thing. The project manager would be directing the project resources, develop the project plan, and ensure that the projects are completed on time, whereas business analyst is like a liaison among the stakeholders, and he would elicit, analyze, and communicate the requirements. So the project manager would be responsible for ensuring that the project objectives are met, all right? But a business analyst would be responsible for ensuring that the projects, the requirements of business are met, all right? So it could happen that, there's a customer who's given you a lot of requirements to develop a certain software, okay? But one project scope is just to develop only a certain part of that, all right? So that would be one project. So the business analyst focus would be on the requirements of the customers. Are those met or not? Whereas a project manager's focus would be on the entire project, all right? So it wouldn't just be the requirements of the customers, it would be the budgeting, it would be, handling the resources, someone's on leave, who's going to be working full-time on the project or part-time on that project. So these kind of things, the project manager would be, like the overall, he would be running out of the project. So here is a little difference between what a business analyst does and what a project manager does. All right. So a business analyst, is more of he would be doing an enterprise analysis. He would understand, like the broader environment under which the company works and what is critical for its success, right? Understanding who are the stakeholders across the enterprise. So that is what a business analyst would do. Whereas a project manager would be doing a lot of integration. Okay, so the technical person has developed a certain project, and so he would be integrating the efforts of all the people involved in the project so that it reaches its final outcome. All right, a business analyst would be doing a lot of planning and management of the requirements, and he would be focused. I mean, he'd be focused on the requirements, gathering from the customer, analyzing it, documenting it, and then communicating it to the development team so that they can start coding and developing the product. And then he would also be involved in the implementation. Once all the developers have developed the software product, then the business analyst would go and see if the end software has come out or is exactly as he had described it. All right, so that is the scope of what a business analyst would do, whereas a project manager would be, the human resource management. Okay, I'm on leave today. One of the developers will say that is something that is not in scope of a business analyst job, but the project manager would be involved in that. And he would be looking at the quality management, if there are any risks associated with the project, the cost management, and the time management. Those are the things that the project managers would be responsible for. So we're just doing a quick skill set comparison just to be sure that you're clear with what a business analyst role is and what a project manager's role is. So look, both project manager and both business analyst should have excellent communication skills. They should be able to negotiate, with different people. Both of them to a certain extent are people managers because they'll have to deal with a lot of people, right? Be it customers or developers or whoever. You have to talk to a lot of people, communicate to a lot of people. You have to have a good understanding of the software development lifecycle and very good, strong interpersonal skills and relationship building skills, right? And client management, yes. See, sometimes the customers want huge requirements, and it's just not possible for it to solve that business problem. But maybe the business analyst will have to think of a workaround that also solves a business problem and does not put too much of a strain on the technical team to develop that. So these are the kind of things you have to be very good at managing the clients, the customers, the end customers. The differences, well, we've done a lot of differences already, but this is just to give you a brief overview that a business analyst has to be very detail oriented as to what requirement, how much has to be developed, and giving a lot of details on that. But the project manager, like, he has to see like the big picture of the project, right? Could all of you go on mute, please, because there's a lot of background noise I'm hearing that would disturb the others as well. So only when you have to speak, you can just unmute yourself and talk, but otherwise, please go on mute. Maher.
Yes.
Yeah, could you please go on mute? And
Yes.
sure. I can still hear the noise. Have you gone on mute? Okay, now I don't. All right. So okay, so the best way of to guarantee success in any project is to have good experienced project manager and a strong experienced business analyst. So that kind of guarantees a success of a project. Not that if you have these two, there could be other factors as well, but these things surely have a higher chances of a successful project. Okay, now we're going to discuss after this, like I said, there's a software development life cycle. I'm going to talk a little more about that. As a business analyst, in each phase of the software development, what is your role? Okay, where do you fit in? What is your work or what is your job there? And how important and critical a business analyst is from the software development perspective. That's what we're going to discuss now. Before that, I just wanted to tell you that during the course sessions of MindsMapped, if you have missed out on any sessions, you can always contact the course coordinator, and you can get the recorded session. All right. So you'll have to just coordinate with her, and I'm going to give you the details. Her email ID. So I would request all of you, to give your contact numbers. You can type that in the chat window. and your email address. Or you can contact the email ID that I have just typed. I hope everyone can see that. So for any queries, you could contact the training coordinator. You would have access to all the slides, the presentations that I do. They're going to give you slides. The presentations, you'll have access to all the knowledge base where you can go and, refer to the presentations. And in addition, you would also, we would be giving you assignments, so that you have a very good understanding and have good practical knowledge of, let's say, how to write a requirement document, things like that, all right? Okay. So anyone has any questions before I move on to the next topic? Anybody? Okay, so I'm assuming that you have no questions. Okay, what is software development lifecycle? Now, it's a framework, all right? It's like a life cycle of a project, okay? So there is like a starting phase, and then, so it's a life cycle of a project. All right, so there would be like a planning stage, then there would be an analysis phase, and there would be a design phase, then there would be an implementation phase. Now this is like broadly in just giving you an example. All right, so it is a framework that kind of defines what task would be then done at what step of the software development process. It's a structure, that's followed by a development team within a software company. And as a business analyst, you must be aware of what a software development lifecycle is. So it's nothing but the phases of a software project. All right, so okay, so this would give you a better idea of what a project is. Okay, so there would be, the initiation phase in deciding, what exactly is the project scope. Okay, what do you mean by scope? All right, so what exactly are you going to cover in that project? All right, so that has to be predefined. And as business analysts, it's very, very important to understand what the scope of the project is when you're gathering the requirement, okay? So because in real life, if you've not defined the scope clearly, what can happen? I'll tell you. Customers, the clients, they just keep giving you requirements, all right? And you've already started the development process. And now, okay, and before the cycle ends, the customers now want new requirements, but you've already planned for some requirements, and now at the last minute they ask you to, work on new requirements. It's going to be very chaotic. It's going to be very chaotic. So it's very important to understand the scope of what is the scope of that project. And there are certain things that are out of scope and certain things that are in scope. So here you have an analysis and planning. So that's what you plan for. What is it that you're going to cover? And then you have, the next phase. Go on, sorry. I can't hear you. Maher. Yes, Maher, tell me.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, by mistake, I'm sorry.
No problem. Okay, so the next phase, is specifying the features. Next phase is like the design phase, and gathering the requirements or the specifications. So here you'll have to give the features, right? And the kind of what define the scope of the systems and things like that. So here you'll have to specify what are the features that the product, that the product that you're developing would be having. So you'll have to write down the requirements. For example, like we took our example, launching, mobile banking application, right? So let's say that is a project. So what would be the scope of that project? It's just launching, a mobile banking application that a customer can download on his mobile and be able to do certain features, right? Certain transactions. Okay, so now you cannot have all the transactions, all the banking transactions possible in one project. Maybe you'll have to do it at later phases. So to start off, maybe the customer can just, so the scope of the project is, let's say that the customer can only view his transaction details, be able to transfer funds to, his friends. So just 2 or 3 transactions, right? And so that's the project. So that's the scope of the project. And then next comes specifying the features. Now, when you say transfer funds, okay, what does that mean? Who can a customer transfer funds to? Does it have to be within US? Can it be any customer? Can it be a customer from a different bank, or does it have to be from the same bank? These are the kind of specific features. So you're going more in detail on that feature. Okay, you're defining it further, right? And the next phase is, the product. When the product is actually, you've already defined the scope, you've defined the requirements, you've told, okay, this can happen, this cannot happen. You've got an agreement with the customer. Now the real work starts, which is development. Okay, this, in the actual development phase, you as a business analyst, you wouldn't be, that involved, because they would be, the development team would be working on that. They would be working on developing the product. And okay, and sorry, Mahir, please don't start your webcam. I think, yeah, that's not needed. Okay, so the next phase is the development process, where the development team is developing or doing the actual coding. All right. Now here, as a business analyst, you need to be involved. All right. You might think that this isn't my job, so why should I be involved? But you need to be involved because you need to keep communicating with them, explain the requirements. If they have any questions or doubts, that you probably may not have thought before, but when you're actually coding, then there could be questions that the developers have. So you can answer it, or you can get the clarification from the customer and then give it to the developer, right? And after that, after the product has been coded, after the coding, then there is a testing, right? There's a whole testing team that will actually test the software as to, based on the specifications that a business analyst has given, he would go through the test each and every requirement, right? So, like in a mobile banking solution, he would see, okay, can I actually see the funds of, my account, or am I able to see the transaction details of every customer, right? Now that would be a huge problem. If I can see the transactions details of another customer, that would be a huge compliance issue, and maybe the bank can be sued or could be shut down because of that. So these things are very important, right? So is the software secure enough, right? Can it be hacked? These are the kind of things that will be tested before the product actually hits our, is launched and the customers start using it. All right. So even in this phase, as a business analyst, you would be very, very involved because you need to tell the QA team or the quality assurance team or the testing team what are the features that you're going to test, why you're testing them, and after the testing, you could even be prioritizing the bugs. There will be certain bugs, right? Certain defects that will come. Now, some would be very basic defects, like maybe it isn't as visually appealing, but but the customer is able to do the transaction, and so there are certain defects that you have to live with. You have to accept, which can be corrected in, say, the next version. But and there are certain defects that cannot, we cannot accept those. For example, if a customer is able to see the transaction details of another banking customer, now is that an acceptable defect? Can you go live or can you launch the product with that kind of defect? Obviously no, right? But if there's a defect where visually it's not as appealing, or it's not well organized, or the customer has to take 2 steps to reach that screen, that's a defect that you can live with in the first version. Maybe in the next version or the next upgraded version, maybe that could be improved. Okay, so these are the kind of things that you as a business analyst will have to prioritize, and you may have to be interacting with the customers on deciding what is it that should be there, what shouldn't be there. And in the end is the delivery or the support. So when you're delivering the product to customer, here also a business analyst plays a huge role. And let me explain it to you. Well, first of all, you will have to explain, there will be a user acceptance testing, which means that with the customer, you have to kind of give a presentation of the features that you have developed, and what the product can actually do. All right. And then also you might have to train many people. Sometimes the client who has placed an order of the product is actually not going to be the end user. So maybe you'll have to train some of the employees who would be using that product. So you would be doing training manuals, you would be doing, and teach them how to use the product, all right, or write training manuals. Or once the product is launched, you would be involved in the support if the software crashes or if there's any issues on the maintenance part. So these are the kind of things that you would be involved. Okay. All right, so now is the next part. That's requirements analysis. See, now you would be doing a lot of work, a lot of study. You would be doing an enterprise analysis, like I said. You would be working on the feasibility. Is this particular solution that the customer wants, is it feasible? There could be a lot of things involved. Is it technically possible? Do you have the bandwidth to achieve the goal that the customer wants from that software? A lot of things. Is it feasible? What are the parts of the solution that is feasible and what is not? So you'd be doing a lot of research, you'd be doing a lot of investigation, market research, and some of the business analysts are also involved in the cost benefit analysis, risk assessment. What are the different types of risks involved in this project? All right. And you'd be doing the actual business use case. A use case would be, like a detailed step-by-step description of a certain feature. For example, one of the feature of our mobile banking was that the customer can see his transactions on the phone, right? He could access his account. He could, go and see his transaction details within a time period, right? So it would step each and every step involved in that particular feature so that the technical team will be able to develop the product or this feature based on what you have defined, right? So that is a use case, and we will go a lot in detail in that. It would be a huge detailed session on that. And then there would be a vision document. In future, do you think that the scope of this can be enhanced? What are the different type of requirements, right? So these are the kind of analysis that you would be doing involved in that. In the requirement analysis phase, all right, what are the deliverables? So you have something called as functional specification document, which means where you describe, like all the functions or the features of each and every of the product, like I just gave you an example, a mobile banking. So you should be able to log in to the mobile banking application on your mobile. So what are the mobiles applications where you can download, all right? What is a geographic constraint? Can you do it just in US or outside US? And these kind of things, and what are the different features or the functions that that application can do, right? To see your transactions, transfer funds, and all the basic banking transactions. And then you have a software specification document, all right? Your software or the application should have certain software requirements, hardware requirements, right? So maybe you would be giving a detailed analysis of the APIs involved. And okay, so what are the different softwares that the customers, the clients will have to use your software. So these are the kind of different technical aspects would be detailed in the software specification document. Is everyone clear with what a software specification document is, or any questions on that? Anyone? Is everyone clear with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So
Can you explain one more time, please?
sure. The software specification document would actually give you the details of, all the software requirements, the hardware requirements, for that particular software application. See, when you have a software application, it speaks to many other systems, right? So, for example, you must have heard of something called as SQL, right? So there'll be a certain application called SQL where you have to access a database. So when you put a query on your software, it actually talks to another software and fetches that data from there and then provides you that information. So the software specification document will give you all of that information. Generally, a business analyst may or may not get into that. In my experience, I have seen mostly the technical business analysts do that, or the IT team doing that, but it's possible that you have to also be involved in understanding what the requirements of that particular technical side, technical software requirements of that application, or the different softwares that are used, or the hardware. Okay. And the user requirement document will be what the end user would be using. Like I said, a training manual. Like when you buy an electronic product, right? There's a little, instruction manual that you get. Step 1, step 2, step 3, do it like this. This is how you can use the product. So that's your user requirement document. And then you have a use case specification. Like I mentioned, it's like a step-to-step guide of, the feature that you want to develop. So the use case specification is probably one of the most important roles of a business analyst, writing use cases. As in defining use cases is nothing but defining the requirements as detailed in as much detail as possible. Okay, so now there are different phases. In requirement management also has different phases. For example, you were the business analyst and you were approaching, say, uh, the marketing head of Bank of America who is looking into the project, and you have to gather a requirement from him on what the feature should be in the mobile banking application. So you're going to ask, so you're going to be setting up a kind of a workshop or kind of interview sessions with different stakeholders, all right, as to what is the existing product, right? What are the existing features? What is the as-is process? And you'll be reading a lot of manuals, the existing manuals. Then you would understand how the banking transactions go on right now. Okay, what is the process right now? You have to know the process before you approach for gathering requirements. That's very, very important. You have to do a lot of homework before you do your requirement gathering. Okay, so you would be doing a lot of research, you'd be doing a lot of observation. You could even go to the competitor bank, okay? You could probably see their mobile banking application and then then you would go to the stakeholders to understand what they want, the customer, what they want, what they have in their mind, okay? So you'd be doing a lot of so that is the kind of work that you would be doing. You'd be having a workshop maybe with a lot of people, like maybe 10 or 15 people, and ask them what are their suggestions on what it should have, what are the requirements that should have. So there'll be a lot of brainstorming that you would be doing, okay? And there would be a lot of interviews. You have to go and speak to maybe the operations team on what are the problems that the customers face, because they interact with the customers the most. So you must know what are the problems that the customers face, so they can, you could just get some really real good examples of what actually is happening instead of going in actually asking the customers. You could ask the operations team. And the next is the requirements documentation. So that's the core job. So you'll have to be documenting the requirements, all right? And there is something called as a requirement traceability document, which means that the customers would be giving you a certain requirements, okay? You will have to trace that to the use cases and create a requirement traceability document, okay? And you'll be tracing that till the end of the project as to with the use case number and when it's tested, maybe the test case number and things like that. So there's a requirement traceability. You're tracking the requirements. What is the phase of the requirement, and everything associated to that requirement. Generally, the project managers or the delivery managers, they use this document or consume this document the most, because you're tracking the requirements. In a company where there are lots of requirements coming, a requirements traceability matrix is very, very helpful for the top management or maybe the project managers. And you would be, of course, writing the functional and non-functional requirement documents. Now, what do you mean by functional? Functional documents, okay, the functional requirements would be in our mobile banking application. A functional requirement would probably be a requirement like, the viewing the transaction history. That's a functional feature, all right? Now, what is a non-functional requirement? How many people can use, a mobile banking application at the same time? How much stress can it handle, right? What are the kind of softwares it's compatible with? And these are the kind of non-functional requirements, but non-functional requirements are equally important as functional requirements. Okay. Anyone has got questions on that, or is it clear so far? Please feel free to ask. I will be giving you a lot of examples on what a non-functional requirement is and what a functional requirement is. Now, the aim of this session is to just give you an understanding of what is it that a business analyst would be doing in each phase of the requirements. So if you still have any questions, I'll be happy to answer that. I'll be happy to repeat myself or answer them. Someone was talking. I'm so sorry to interfere. Could you please repeat? Someone was asking me a question.
Yeah, I just wanted you to repeat on functional and non-functional requirements.
Okay, a functional requirement would be, what is the actual functions of the business, the core features. Like in our mobile banking application, all the functional requirements would be, to be able to log into the mobile banking application, to be able to transfer funds, to be able to view the transactions. Those are the functional requirements, the core, the actual business requirements, right? But the non-functional would be, what is maybe the training need? Can it be used by anyone? Those are the kind of things, the stress requirements, okay? Can it be used on any mobile application, or does it need a certain software requirement, or can it be used only on high-end smartphones? Now, these are the kind of things. And how many users can log in at the same time? Can it support, let's say, 10 lakh transactions at the same time? Can you do many transactions from a mobile banking application? Can it support that kind of volume, that kind of value, huge value transactions? Can you do that from a mobile banking? Or let's say if the transaction value is above, $1 lakh, then you'll have to go to the bank, something like that. So these are the kind of things that go on the non-functional side. That is not the actual functional requirement, but it's the other set of requirements. But please do not underestimate those requirements. Sometimes, not capturing these non-functional requirements can really result in project failure. I remember there in my experience, once it so happened that there was a software that was developed, the functional requirements, it worked very fine, but they did not really focus on the fact that if this software is launched and so many customers, they log in at the same time, right? Can it support so many users at the same time? Will it crash, right? Will it slow down? So those are the things, and that's what happened. It was not able to take the load of so many customers logging in at the same time. So should it be launched in phases in a certain geography first, and then when it can support so many users, then launch it across US? So these are the kind of things that you will have to also think about in a requirement. Okay. Have I been able to answer your question? Is it clear now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I think we've spoken a lot about what a role of business analyst is in requirement analysis phase. Then you have the design phase where you're actually kind of designing the requirements, right? You have to kind of create complex, detailed system, like doing a screen layout. How will my application look? How will the mobile banking application look on the smartphone? The coloring, the placing of the different widgets, right? Which button will I click? Will it be a radio button or a mouse? Will it be a radio button or a key or something like that? Those kind of things. Detailed screen layouts. what are the business rules? Can I transfer any amount, or is there a slab? For the first 50 days, I can transfer, so much money, and then I can transfer. If the transaction value exceeds a certain slab, then I have to go to the bank. Otherwise, I can do it on my mobile banking. So this is a business rule, for example. A process diagram, each and every detailed step-by-step process, and doing a flow chart. Okay, step one, you do this, then you do this. Okay, so those are the kind of things that you would be doing in the design phase. So here, this phase is very important and critical for a business analyst, because you'll be working very closely with the technical experts or the solution designers and architects to ensure that the requirements are clear, okay? And you have to keep the stakeholders engaged and assure them that, okay, the requirements are implemented exactly as specified in the business requirements artifacts. This is very important. You need to keep communicating with the customers on what's happening and what's not happening, and what could be the possible constraints you are facing. Those kind of things you would be involved in. Sometimes it can happen that, you do have a requirement, you've understood it very well, but when the work actually starts, it can happen that they realize that this is taking too long to implement, so it's not possible in this current phase, so maybe it has to be deferred. So those are the kind of decisions that you may be having to interact with the customer for. And it can also happen that you'll have to manage any changes to requirements, both from the business side and as well as from the technical side. Like the technical person could suggest that, why don't you, instead of doing it like this, why don't we offer this? Because technically this is not possible, but we can do it like this. So the solution, so the problem of the customer is solved, and but it's not exactly how the business analyst has described it. So maybe there has to be an alternate or a workaround. Okay, so you'll be constantly doing that. So your problem solving skills will be tested and put to use constantly, in this phase, because the technical team will always push back saying this is possible, this isn't possible. Then you'll have to negotiate with them. Then you have to work a way around that solves the business need, business problem, and also communicate that to the end customer. Okay, then comes the development phase, where once you've designed the solution, you've decided, okay, this is how it has to be. The developers understand the requirements very well, because you've done a great job in communicating the requirements very well, right? So now the actual development starts. So this is a time that you can go and party? No, you can't. This is a time when you're supposed to be available for the developers whenever they have any questions or queries. Okay, so you are involved all through, right from the starting till the end, till the application or the software is ready. All right, so here, even though your work is lighter, but you still need to be available to answer any questions or clarify the requirements, or sometimes you have to keep repeating and make them understand the requirements better. And you'll have to do a prototype. Now, let's see what a prototype is. Prototype is like a mock, like you create a mock of the actual product, right? So, here you'll have to keep reviewing the prototypes, that, okay, this is possible, this is how the screen should look, the screen layout, and things like that. So that would be, so basically a prototype would be a look-alike of the product that you want to be developed. That would be a prototype. Right? Now, so once the business, the developer has developed the product, so maybe you'll have to see, does it match your prototype that you created, or is it different, things like that. All right, so then you have the testing phase, like I already discussed. Here you would be you would be involved in the planning. What are the test cases that what features have to be tested? Almost every feature has to be tested, but what are the features that are most important? And if sometimes the QA or the manager, the testing manager will even ask you to review all the test cases. And if you think that any of any of your features or the requirements, they do not have enough test cases to cover, to test them. You may even have to suggest that to the testing manager that, okay, you have missed out on this test case. You also have to test if people outside of US can are able to log in or not. No. For example, that is a test case that probably the QA person has missed out. So there has to be a geography constraint that has to be tested. These are the kind of things that you have to be constantly involved with testing. You will even have to review the test cases and the test cases, and even prioritize, like I already discussed. You'll be involved in defect prioritization. What are the defects that are higher priorities from business value perspective? Or, okay, for example, if a customer is transferring, let's say, $100 to his friend, but the actual amount that's getting transferred is only $95, that's a huge defect. Okay, that's a very big defect. So that is the highest priority. Okay, but when he's transferring funds, the email is not getting triggered to the customer who is transferring the funds. Now this is also a very important defect. Okay, but relatively comparing between three defects, which is the most important defect, you have to give a priority. Okay, so these are the kind of things that you would be doing. And the last phase would be, like the release. The product is developed now, it's tested, and now ready to go release. So here again, the business analyst. Sorry?
كويس بس عشان عندي شو اسمه عندي شو اسمه بالماية لمصاص في محاضرة اونلاين حاطط فيها اونلاين قاعد عشان هيك حاطط مكالمة لا اليوم لا عشان ممدوح سنحضر
I can't hear you, Hassan. Could you repeat?
I think he's talking to someone else, so
Okay.
just mute.
Yeah.
Hassan, could you just mute yourself, if you don't mind, please? Because we're hearing your noise, your voice. Okay, so now we have the release and maintenance. Now the software is developed. It's party time. You're going to have the whole management is going to be, waiting to listen to the review of the customer, things like that. So now the product is ready to be released. So what do you have to be ready with? You have to be ready with the training manuals. The users who are going to use the product, they need to know how to use the product, right? So if it's a mobile banking solution, there are a lot of people who are not very mobile savvy, so or very tech savvy. So there has to be like a manual or step-by-step instruction. You could do this, step 1, step 2, things like that, or a frequently asked questions, or help with contact center and things like that. And so now you have to prepare for a system in a production environment, right? This is a huge work task in itself, because the software is developed, but now it has to be released, so it has to go in the production environment. So first it would be tested by the testing team in a certain environment, which is internal to the organization, and after this it would be tested in a live environment, which means it's go live. So it has to pass all the QA tests. Only then it can go live. And even when it goes live, it will not be released into the market till some members have tested it in production or go live, and then it would be announced that okay, you can go ahead and start using, or there would be some kind of a promotion, by or advertisements by the banks and stuff like that. And even over here, you have to solve all the resolving the problems, things like that. So here you would be doing the deliverables. Here would be the actual application that you have developed, and the test case and reports, and giving presentation to the customer. Okay, this is what we've done, things like that. So that's it. So this is how a business analyst, is going to be involved in every phase of the requirement management. Obviously, you are like the requirement architect, like the requirement owner. You're like the CEO of the requirement or of the product that you're going to make. So you're going to be involved in everything. You have to ensure that you bring out the best solution, and you've researched enough, you've done a lot of work, and then you do the requirement documentation, have good visualizing skills, good problem solving skills. That is, that's how great products are developed. So your role as a business analyst is very, very critical and very, very important in a software company. So that's it from me in this session. I would request each one of you to kindly give me your email ID and your contact number. Okay. So could you please type that in the chat window? And if
some of us already typed their email address. Do you want us to type it again?
No. If you've already done it, please don't do that. But everyone has not done that, so I'm going to wait for 5 minutes for did everyone get the email address? So if you have any questions on okay, so this is the contact number of my training coordinator, and if you do not want to give me the details here, I would strongly recommend you to do that. But you can even contact and keep that email address always with you. So if you, when you sign in for the course, if you have any queries, if you've missed out any session, you can request the coordinator and you can get a live recorded. As you can see, the session is being recorded, so you can listen to the entire session. If you have happened to miss out on any of the sessions, you can request them to give you access to the knowledge base where you can access all the presentations and also the assignments. You can see the templates where you can get the assignments and submit the assignments, things like that. Okay. Okay, someone was asking me a question.
Yeah. I think missed your name. Can I?
Sure. My name is Mansi.
Okay. And Mansi, I just want to know, is these PowerPoint presentations are available in the knowledge base?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Mansi, can you take some questions regarding the training course itself?
Sure. So how did you like the training course? Any questions you have on anything, on the training course content, anything?
Mansi, now I saw online that this training course is for 50 hours now. Now weekend is when this training is going to happen. So are you saying 5 weeks, like 5 hours a day on a weekend?
No, it would be for 5 weeks. So
Okay.
that is 5 into 2, Saturday and Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So you would be having a total of 10 sessions, which would
And
be
each
around
session would be for how many hours?
3.5 hours.
Okay.
Mansi, I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, regarding the software that we're gonna use, what type of software? Like, are we gonna use Excel and what else?
As a business analyst or during the training?
During training and also as a business analyst.
Generally, yeah, you would be using Word, Excel, and PowerPoint presentations. Some of the organizations, they would also offer you Microsoft Visio. You could do the flowcharts in Microsoft Visio. And there would be some other tools also where you could do the prototypes. So that depends on the organization, but there are a lot of tools online where, like, you could design the mock-ups or how the screen of my mobile application would look, right? So something. So that depends on the organization. Some organizations don't want to spend on the tools. My company and many of the companies I worked in, they were startups, so they would not invest so much on the tools. So they would just ask us to sign into tools like Lucidchart or Balsamic. So these are available with free online trials, so you can just use them. All right. So.
Oh, okay. So regarding this program, what tool are you gonna use?
Well, maybe I could show you how to use one of the tools, but really, the organization that you will be working in, they will give you the tool and they will tell you how to use it.
Oh, okay.
So it's nothing that you have to worry too much about.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Mansi, are we gonna get any kind of training regarding the domain? Because for our BA, I think his domain knowledge is also very important.
The domain knowledge is important, yes. This is a generic course on giving an overview of what a business analyst does, and the skill sets required and the detail. But we are not going to really talk about a domain. No, we're not going to do that. So specifics about a domain is not going to happen here. We can have a lot of examples, but it would not be a specific domain that we will talk about.
Okay, sure, thanks. And regarding the tools you were talking about, but you would be teaching how to draw those diagrams. I mean,
Yes.
irrespective of it.
Yes, even if there are time constraints or so, maybe it could probably guide you to how do you have a self-learning, or I will try my best to give you, how to draw the flowcharts and some mock-up diagrams. I'll try to show you examples of that. I would try to include that because that really helps when you actually start working as a business analyst.
Sure. And at the end of the training or during the course of the training itself, are we going to get any kind of documents? I mean, one is that we're going to get the presentations itself. Is there anything else?
Yes, you would be doing a lot of assignments. So when you're doing the assignments, okay, that's when you'll actually learn how to do the use case. For example, and I would be reviewing your work that you have done, okay. So after the class, we would be giving you assignments. So you'd be actually writing a business requirement document. You'll actually be doing a use case. You'll actually be doing a flow chart of the use case. So that's how you're going to be working. So by the time the course is over, you'll be ready, and you'd be doing mock interviews. So I'm going to be asking you questions and what probably an interview would ask you. So you're going to be like quite ready and confident to answer any questions regarding the business analysis course or whatever. You'll be market ready to answer the questions related to business analyst.
Sure, thanks.
Thank you.
So has everyone here given me your email ID? Is there anyone who's missed out? Please make sure you give me your email ID or your contact numbers, whatever, phone numbers, where we can reach you.
Yes, Nancy. Just I want to clarify what time tomorrow this session will start, because I missed the beginning of this session.
And tomorrow it will start the same time, which is 10 EST, 10 a.m. EST.
Excuse me, did you say the same time? So 10 a.m., right?
Yes, yes.
All right.
I will wait for 5 minutes and start at 10:05. So please try to come at least 5 minutes. Try to log in 5 minutes before. It's possible that you could be there could be some technical problems. So it's better to log in 5 minutes faster. It's recommended. Any other questions relating to?
I have a question. I think I missed out earlier. Did you discuss about what you're going to cover in the course, like the whole, like just a high level thing?
Okay. Yeah, sure. The scope. Yeah, I think I've I've not covered the scope. So yeah, that's a good point. Maybe the scope or what would be covered in the session. You all would have this BA course content. Do you have this document? You could visit our website and you can get the content, what all would be covered in the training sessions for 50 hours, right? So we've completed the session with introduction to projects, and we will be covering the different the different phases of software development lifecycle, and the different methodologies that we are going to take, and then what is an enterprise analysis, right? And
Okay.
how do you actually gather requirements, the types of requirements, what is a functional requirement and non-functional requirement. I think we've just touched on that, but we will go in more detail. Then how do you understand who is a stakeholder, how do you manage the requirements, how do you actually gather the requirements, and yeah, we would be doing a lot of, then the eighth session would be on gathering requirements, elicitation, and interviews, and focus groups, and how do you actually, get the requirements. And we would be doing a lot of practical case studies, a lot of examples, right? And then requirement analysis. So this would be the most important part where it would answer most of your questions as to, how do you do the data process flows and the use cases and prototypes and things like that, decision trees. So these are the kind of things that we'd be working on. And then the documentation part, right? How do you actually document the requirements? the development plan, how do you write the business requirement documents, and how can you organize the facts, what could be a business rule or a flow chart and things like that. And then the use case and the unified modeling language, so what is a sequence diagram, what is an activity diagram, how can you use a use case diagram. Then the requirements management, which is, it's not enough to just get the requirements, right? So, what are the different aspects to change management? Because implementing a new change is change management. It has its own challenges. So, how do you work around that as a business analyst? And how do you communicate the requirements to the end customers, to different level of users, to internally, externally, as into the end customers, things like that. And how do you prepare for your sessions, support, the quality. Like we said, you'll be doing a lot of support role. You'll be supporting, probably the operations team, and probably the QA team, right? And the testing team, so these kind of things. And then we will also give you, how to prepare your interview, your resume, how to prepare for the interview, right? What can be the questions, some project work that you can talk about confidently. So this would be the course content, and this would make you market ready for handling any kind of questions and make you confident in, being a good business analyst. So.
Thank you very much. So we are doing all this, practical and hands-on thing, right?
Yeah.
For requirement analysis, gathering, and everything, and then putting it into the UML diagrams, or.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And are we all doing the same project or different project?
I think it would be the same project. I would see, I can't say that right now, but I think you'd be doing the same project. But if you would like to have more variety, we can look at that too.
Okay. And it's starting tomorrow again, continue tomorrow also, 10 o'clock?
Yeah, it would start tomorrow at 10 o'clock, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Oh, sure, you're welcome. So it's great to have all of you here. I really enjoyed presenting to all of you, and I look forward to interacting with you and have a great session and have a lot of fun while training, and hope, we enjoy this whole process. And any other questions, anything that you want to say, anything that you think I should improve on? Maybe am I too fast? Do I need to slow down? You can tell me, it's no problem.
The only thing I would say is, a little more, the industry examples. I'm sure you probably work as a business analyst, right? So, if we can, support your, discussion with the example, I think that'll be easy actually for us to understand.
Sure. So more examples? Sure, I'll try to include as many examples as I can.
Thank you.
Yes, I agree. Thank you for this point.
Hello, I would like to know if we take the course and study material that you provide, what else do you recommend before to process certification on business analysis?
No, you don't have to take a certification for, to appear for interviews. It's see, if you're certified, it's always an added advantage, all right? But it's not that you need to take it. Does that answer your question? Any other questions?
Excuse me. Actually, Mansi, where is the document? Where can I find the material for the course?
You can coordinate with the training coordinator. She will help you with that. Yeah, I have given you her email address, so you can just coordinate with her. And she can tell you where to look for the documents. She could even give you a username and password so you can access the knowledge base. And also, if you have missed out on any session, you can just attend the session and you can get the recorded presentation of that session.
Is she Monica?
Yeah, that's her. That's her name, Monica, and the ID is info@mindsmapped.com, and her contact number is 385 237 9777. Any other questions or any you'd like to make a point, anything, feel free to speak.
So Mansi, when do you think, in which session you're going to start the actual the assignment work, like working on a project?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, sure. Probably, see, it would depend on the topic, but I think maybe from, from probably from the fifth or sixth session, because that's where you might have, some assignments that you can actually work on. But you'd be doing a lot of assignments in the session where you have to gather requirements, all right? So yeah, that one, writing use cases, the requirements documentation, for example. So you'll have to, and the session 11, you'll have to do the use case diagram, right? The sequence diagrams, the activity diagrams, and doing the decision trees. These are the kind of assignments that you'll be working on.
And are you going to be discussing those, assignment review in the class, or you'll do it offline?
See, looking at the time constraints, I don't think I'll be able to discuss them, but I would just give a brief summary on what were the, uh, but I wouldn't be able to discuss individual assignments. But overall, yes, of course, I will be giving the solution that is probably expected, or maybe answering you and giving you a kind of a review on your work.
Okay, thank you.
Or maybe I could just go through all the assignments and maybe highlight that, okay, these are the areas that you need to work on, and most of the people have given me this assignment, and this is the areas, that this is how it's expected, and these are the areas that you can work on, and this is how the solution is expected.
Okay.
But you can ask me any questions also, that's no problem at all.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? So tomorrow we're going to meet at 10 a.m. and today, since this being the first session, I hope you all liked it. I really enjoyed having the session with you.
Nancy, just the last question, please. How can we contact you offline? If there is any email or anything, or we have to contact Monica if we need to ask you anything?
You have to go through the training coordinator, yes. Or you could send an email to ba@mindsmapped.com. So yeah, you could send me the questions to this this ID. I'll type that for you.
Yes, please. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So yeah, you could send your assignments to me at this ID, or you could ask me any questions, and maybe I could answer that. Yeah, but you'll have to get that access to the knowledge base from the coordinator, Monica. And if any one of you have missed out on, I see there are 21 attendees, so has each one of you given me your email ID or contact number or both? Please make sure that you've given me your email ID or contact number. Or if you haven't been able to do it, you could even contact Monica or the ID, which is info@mindsmapped.com, and contact her. That's fine as well. Any other questions regarding the course, or any other questions relating to what we've spoken today? Any questions in the session? All right, then I'm assuming that we are done today. Oh, someone has sent me the email ID. Just one second. So I'm noting all the IDs so that I can inform my coordinator. Has everyone given me your email ID?
Yes, we did.
All right.
Is there anything that we could do, or just should meet up tomorrow?
Yeah, so if you've given me your email ID, then I think we're done with the session, so you can leave and you could log in, and see you tomorrow at 10.
All right, well, it's a pleasure talking to you, and hope to see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
All right, good day, everyone.
Nice to meet you, Nancy. See you later.
See you later. Thank you.